Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Private Practice Podcast. Um, okay, as you can hear, I don't have a intro today, and there won't be an outro because we're having a road trip. We're in the car. I'm going from Phillip Island to where am I going? Corumbarra. That's where I'm going. And so I just thought I was feeling inspired. I wanted to share something with you. So there was a question in the community that came up during the week. And so there's a little post in there that says, what are your questions about private practice? Ask anything, ask away. And somebody had said, well, if you had to start all over again from scratch, what would you do? And I thought, I love that question. And you know what? I was like, oh, well, I would do all of these things. And I thought to myself, oh, hang on. I did kind of have to start all over again. It happened, as you know, when I moved out of, well, happened a couple of times actually, didn't it? It happened when I went from working as a psychologist in the medical clinic doing all of my bulk billing. And then I moved into my own little space and was out of sight, out of mind, lost all my referrers, but I also lost my referrers because up until that point, so bulk billing is when clients don't have to pay, and as your fee, you accept whatever Medicare gives you. That's called a rebate. Um, Medicare money is not ever considered your salary or anything like that, but technically shouldn't call it that, but it's what it ends up being, right? So I went from that situation over into having my own little place there and charging. And at the time I started off charging $15. And yeah, anyway, that story. Lost most of my referrers overcharging because I thought I was being very, very, very greedy with my $15 over here. I know. Anywho, it did mean that I had to kind of start from scratch. And here's the thing, when I first started working as a psychologist, I didn't have a website, or I didn't even have a business card right at the beginning of being a psychologist, nothing like that. Because you know what? I just found myself working at a great big bulk billing medical centre, and they just kept my diary full because it was all Medicare stuff, right? I mean, was it easy work? No. The type of work was very demanding. Lots of clients either like cancelling appointments, not showing, lots of requests for legal reports, lots of requests for, certificates for this, that, and the other. It was, yeah, very, very demanding sort of client group. And it wasn't just where I was based either. I worked at many bulk billing medical centres around Victoria, both country and metropolitan. And my experience is it's a certain type of demographic that, yeah, you connect with there. And you toughen up pretty quickly, I have to say. Um, then, so having to be in that position of all of a sudden, having been in private practice for such a long time, but now suddenly having to learn about the business side of things, I found that really, 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 really challenging. And then I think my third start was probably when I retired on the 20th of September 2020 from psychology. And yeah, that meant moving into something completely different. So I was like, start number 3. So yeah, I've got a little bit of experience in terms of starting things and of course helping other people start their things. So I know what works and I know what's working for my clients at the moment as well. So I will tell you what I would do if I had to do it all over again. But conditions apply, because here's the thing. If I had 100 women in private practice and they all had the same qualification, the same experience, they're all at the exact same starting point with their business, and I gave them all the same strategies, some would crush it and they would do that very quickly. Most of them, they're just going to take the time that it needs to take for a whole bunch of reasons. Either it's personal stuff, so maybe they're going through divorces, or they're relocating, or there's stuff going on over there. or it could be their own, imposter syndrome that's it's taking a lot longer than we would like for it to really start to shift and move. And that's okay. It's going to take as long as it takes. But um, it just means that for that person, maybe they're not going to get a result so quickly because they've got different other things going on, right? Um, and then two, it's got to be like your willingness to learn stuff. And this is one of the things that I absolutely know is that I've been doing this for such a long time. I had the private practice certification program going, I had the marketing program going, all of the success program was going. And, people would say, oh, I tried this thing and, it's not working. What else can I do? And I said, well, let me go and have a look at the thing that you think you've done. And I would go and check it. And, they'd only implemented some of it or part of it. So they hadn't implemented the full thing, but in their mind, to them, they had done it and it wasn't working. So, I even saw this recently. I created a resource for one of my clients to get some more clients. And we were focusing at the time on her website and boosting visibility on Google. And so I created a resource for her that was quite in-depth, quite detailed on how to fix her Google My Business profile. And anyway, she came back to me like a little while later and she was like, well, I've done it and I still don't have a client. And I said, oh, you did do that? And she said, yeah, I did it. And I said, okay, I'll go and have a look and see if there's anything that's sort of jumping out that, obvious that we can go and fix and maybe that'll help. So I went and had a little bit of a look and she hadn't done nearly 3/4 of it. So this is the thing. And even like when I do the website wellness checks, which I love doing so much, I can give recommendations and, sometimes people will run with those, they'll implement them, boom, the next week or a couple of weeks later, I'm getting emails from them saying, oh my gosh, this worked, or they're, or they're saying, can I leave your review and things like that. It's working for them. But there are others that will watch it, listen, and not implement a thing. And they will say, yeah, I had one of those and it didn't work for me. Well, it didn't work because you didn't make the changes. So when I'm going to share with you what I would do, the 3 things I would do if I had to start all over again, just bear in mind that results are going to vary from person to person depending on all kinds of things. But if I had to start all over again, right from scratch, I'd go and learn about how to run a business, specifically a private practice. And by that, what I mean is I would learn about how to market. I would learn about a business plan. I would learn about 90-day planning. I would learn about what I need to be tracking. I would learn about how to make decisions. I would learn about having a business mindset, what that is, what it looks like, what it means. All of those kinds of things I would definitely be doing because those were the things that turned everything around for me. And for example, right, when I first started in private practice, people were saying, oh, you need to post on your socials. So I was doing that and it wasn't getting me any results, like many of you, right? But I didn't know that the reason I wasn't getting results was because I didn't know what I was doing. I just assumed, well, you just post any random stuff, right? I mean, that's not your mindset, is it? Your mindset is, I don't know what to post. Everybody else is posting quotes from Viktor Frankl and Rollo May and Carl Rogers and, Russ Harris. So I should definitely be doing some quotes. Everybody's talking about self-care, so I should definitely be talking about self-care. Do you know? And you just you don't know what you're doing. You're kind of looking at everybody else and you're just assuming they must know, but you don't realize that they actually don't know and that the stuff they're putting up isn't getting them a client. But you don't trust yourself and you don't learn. You don't get educated about what to do. And so it takes you a very long time and you get disheartened and disenfranchised. Then you start to say things like, I hate marketing. But if you learned how to do it, you wouldn't hate it because it works. I mean, yesterday so with the ladies inside Practice Momentum, I'm very transparent. So they get access to absolutely everything of mine, and I don't hold back. For example, they have access, they can go in 24/7 and they can see my Etsy shop planner, they can see my Etsy expense and income tracker, they can see all of that anytime. It's all updated live every single day. They can go and have a look at that. Yesterday, I went through, I have been writing down what I've been doing in terms of non-client facing work in my business this week, just for myself, because I've set myself a financial goal. The financial goal that I've set myself is to generate $25,000 in 60 days. And I thought, as part of this, because you know me, I like to track everything, I would start to track what I'm doing. And so that's what I did. And I color coded everything and I made a little drop down, this, that, and the other. And from Monday to yesterday, I was tracking absolutely everything. And it was very interesting because when you use colors, for me anyway, it tends to work better than, well, not better. I mean, it probably works exactly the same, but I understand it more quickly, a visual, compared to like trying to drill down numbers. And what I could see was, oh, okay, I've got 8 yellow bars here on my drop down menu on my little tracker. That's 7 or 8 inquiry calls that I had just this week for Practice Momentum. So it was really lovely to see that. And then the other thing that was very obvious was I had categories for marketing, and I have to say, probably, I don't know, the majority of the entries were around marketing. And I don't mean marketing in terms of putting up posts about my availability. There was so many within marketing. There's lots of things, right? There's lead generation things. There's things over here that raise visibility. There's things that happen behind the scenes that nobody else in your audience ever sees, but they're still marketing and they still count. So it was a very good exercise to do with the color. And I thought to myself as I was doing it, well, hang on, I've got some clients that I work with who have finished their websites, and they finished them in maybe the last, say, 10 to 12 weeks, right? And they're like, don't have any clients. I don't know where my clients are. I thought they were going to come from the website. And so I thought, okay, this is very interesting here, because maybe we need to clarify expectations. Here's the thing with the website. Yes, it's going to be not the first place where most of your clients find you, but it's going to be the place where most of the clients make the decision to work with you. So if they get a word of mouth referral, a referral from a doctor or another therapist or something like that, and they say, yep, go and see Brooklyn, she is awesome with all of these things, they're going to say, great, what are her details? And they're going to go and Google me, right? Or you. I'm just using myself as an example, but they're going to go on Google. And so, yeah, you can't even really say that word of mouth is a referral pathway, I don't think, because they still have to like what you're doing on the website. So the website is the foundation. And by that, I mean, it's the springboard. It needs to be niched. It needs to be well branded. It needs to be well set out, not with all of the text centered in, a mix of bold and normal, and then we've got a weird font somewhere else and no spacing, and the text is sort of running from the edge of the screen over to the other edge of the screen. No, not like that. We need to have lovely website. Website needs to be optimized, all those kinds of things, because there's no point being on social media. There's no point having a freebie. There's no point going and doing GP meet and greets if the website looks shitty and it's hard to use and it's hard for people to book in and they can't find the information that they need quickly. They've got to dig for it through all those different pages and stuff like that, because it'll never convert. So that's why the focus at the start is making sure that that website is sound. Okay, it's making sure that the website is sound. And yes, by default, there are absolutely going to be clients that come and find you through the website if you've got good SEO. But also, in the beginning, Nobody knows you. You're a brand new business, one of probably millions of brand new businesses that publish their websites that day in the internet land, right? In internet world, in the ether. And so your website has to compete against other pages that are very well known. They've been around for a while, and Google knows how to send traffic to them and who to send to them and all those kinds of things. You're a very, 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 very brand new little site amongst millions, if not billions, of other websites. So in the beginning, we have to help it along, and that means we have to boost your visibility beyond SEO, and that is usually by adding your website to your email signature, putting your website on any posts if you are posting on socials, putting your your website address on your profiles for social media, things like that. So getting it out, getting it out, getting it out. And I think in the early days, using stories on Instagram and Facebook is fantastic for that. I use stories most days, and I use it for all kinds of things, to share products that I have just listed in my Etsy store, to share a case study, to share a testimonial, to share, but I can do testimonials, but maybe you can't. But I can do it to share if I've got a new bundle, or if I'm going to do a workshop, or if I'm going to do a webinar, or if, do you know what I mean? So I will do that regularly, and not many people do. You've got to marketing, getting clients in the early stages. By early, I'm defining early as until the books are full for you. Whether you want 40 a week, whether you want 5 a week, whatever full is for you. That's the early stage, building up to that. In that early stage, you have to be quite active, okay? So I would go and learn about marketing because I didn't know about marketing, and now I do, and it just collapses the timeline so quickly for getting clients. And what I know now is it starts with the website. You've got to drive traffic over to the website. It's really helpful to have a freebie. They're also called lead magnets and opt-ins, but having a freebie is amazing. But again, you can't just leave it sitting on the website. Nobody in the early stages, no one's going to know your website even exists. So you have to be able to market the freebie. And I think the easiest way to do that is to make a collection of posts. I think first off, you've got to present it really nicely. You can't just say sign up to my newsletter, and you can't just say download this freebie and put the name of it. You will get more downloads and more clicks on it if it is well presented. So that's called a mock-up. You can go over to my Facebook business page and you can get my free mock-ups. I made some a few weeks ago. The post is still there. You can just go and get them from there. But yeah, and they will show you what to do. And I think I did like a mini training with that as well. It's all free, but you can go over and get that. So make yourself a really nice professional looking mock-up. And you've got to have a really great description for it, not just 1 or 2 sentences. You've got to have a really great description. And by a great description, it needs to say things like who it's for, what problem it's going to solve for them. It's got to let them know usually how much it's going to cost. But if it's free, it's free. There are paid lead magnets. You want to say how long maybe it's going to take them to get the result or the transformation, right? And really, it's got to solve a problem. So it's not enough anymore to just say, oh, I'm making a workbook, or, you know, I'm making this thing over here and I'm making a journal on self-care. Like, who gives a hoot? No one's downloading your journal on self-care. And I'll tell you why. It's because there's so much research that says the phrase self-care is saturated. People tune out as soon as they see it, number one. Number two, people think, Well, self-care is having a bubble bath and a glass of rosé and, you know, big deal, so what? Like, I already know it. That's the mindset. I already know this. So I'm not going to download the journal. And they don't download your journal. I already know this. And then the other reason why is because maybe you've got some really cool knowledge or insight about self-care, but what you're doing is you're selling the how instead of the result. And by and large, most clients don't really care about the how. Now, I know that's controversial, and there are going to be people that say, oh, well, there's always somebody that specifically asks for this thing. Okay, fine. As I said, there will be some people that are maybe savvy, or maybe they have some kind of inside knowledge about therapy or mental health. Maybe they're married to a therapist or something, but the daughter of, or maybe the mother of, or something. It doesn't matter, but they're generally the minority. Most of the time, clients don't really care how you're going to get them there. They just want to know that you can recognize what they're dealing with at the moment, and that you've got a panacea. You've got some kind of remedy. You've got some kind of solution. You've got some kind of thing that's going to help them. That is a freebie. And that's what makes a good freebie. And so all that stuff there as well, that then becomes your description. I'll give you an example. So with, what did I put up the other day? I'm just thinking, because I'm doing a freebie a week over on my Facebook business page, and I put one up the day before yesterday. Oh, it was on how to get clients from Facebook. That's right. How to get clients from Facebook for your private practice. And yep, so I put up this post, and my whole post, I think it was 10 little carousel slides, was talking them through my experience, my story, like what happened to me, all of that kind of stuff, what I realized, what shifted, what changed. And the reason that I did that was a few reasons. Number one, I want to be transparent. Number two, I wanted to speak from experience. I didn't just want to be all preachy, which, yeah, I always like to speak from experience. And I think stories just make sense. And I think people can sort of follow along, and they can say, oh, that happened to me too. I can relate to, what you went through there, Brooklyn. And I think when that happens, then I think the rapport starts to build, because you're on the same page as your audience, or should I say your audience is on the same page as you. So I kind of walked them through all of that. And then that led really nicely into the freebie. Another one that I had was for, I think the mock-ups might have been. And I put that in carousel format as well, same thing, story. And I also added like a little bit of copy in the body of the post. And I was just speaking to my clients as if they were like right here in front of me. I didn't pitch, I didn't promote, I didn't sell, I didn't do any of that. I was just saying, hey, I know that a bunch of you have freebies and you've spent a lot of time in Canva making them, and maybe even in PDF Escape trying to figure out how to make the damn things fillable. And you put them on your website and they're just collecting like digital dust. Nobody is like tumbleweed just going over your freebie. Nobody is downloading it. But I also know that that's happening because of a few reasons. And, well, I'm not going to address all of them with this. I'm going to address a common one, which is they just don't look appealing. Sorry, I'm just going to say it, but it doesn't look appealing. You're just either not giving me an image, or you're giving me an image that looks really, bad quality. Like, yeah, like it's, I don't know, the 2025 version of clip art. So it looks really, really bad. But you know what? I can help you out, and actually I'm going to show you, here's what needs to go into a nice picture. You have to maybe think of it as dressing a window. You've got the you've got the backdrop, and then you have the thing that you're showcasing that's right in front. That's called the foreground. So that's right in the foreground. And then between the backdrop and the foreground, maybe in the middle, in between those things and off to the side, you've got other bits and pieces that are not the main product, but they're just there for decoration, right? They're just the dressings. And that's how you make a mock-up. It needs to have those three elements. And I've put some together for you that you can go and use. And I've also found some that I think would convert really, really well for most private practice websites. And I've included them using the free version of Canva. So you don't even need to pay to go and, use these. And I've made you a training that shows you how to take the PDF that you've got and drop it into one of these mock-ups. So it looks really good. And then once you've made that mock-up, you can then use that mock-up on the website. You can send an email to all your past clients who are on your email list and let them know that you've got this free thing. You can share a picture of the mock-up or share the mock-up itself on social media and let people who haven't heard from you know that you've got this thing. You can then share that mock-up to your stories, and you can share it to your stories every second day for like a month if you want. No one's going to care. The stories disappear every 24 hours and people only tap on them by choice, right? So they're never going to feel spammed or anything like that. They're choosing whether or not they're going to click on them, but add your link. So on Instagram stories and on Facebook stories, you can add a link. So add the link to the freebie so they can go and get it. Easy. So do you see what I'm saying? Like, marketing, it's a big thing. And then with social media, like so many women in private practice, like, I've got a website and I'm on Psychology Today and I've started my social media and I'm posting every day. I'm not getting clients and it's not working, but they don't understand how to post on social media, and what to post about and what they should be saying and all those kinds of things. So one of the things that I would do, of my three things, if I had to start all over again, is I would go and learn about how to run a business. And part of that would be business planning, quarterly planning, tracking, and marketing. And the thing, like, I want everybody who's studying and is dreaming about having a private practice to know, start marketing your business 90 to 120 days out before you open, because I'll tell you what, the number of women that wind up in financial hot water because they just think it's going to be easy. They think, oh, it's not hard. Like, the hard part's behind me. I've got my diploma, I've got my degree, I've got my qualification. So now I get to go and do the work. They get all excited about it because they're unaware that they need to go and learn how to do businessy things. And they sit in there in leased offices that they've had to pay to have fitted out with soundproofing and, ramps for disability access and paint jobs and all of the things. And they're sitting there in empty consulting rooms for months, not a single client. And it's not because they're not working hard. Nobody can say they're not working hard. They're working really hard. They are posting every day and they are blogging every day and they are doing so much stuff. They're just not doing any of the right stuff. And the reason that they're not doing the right stuff is because they never learned it. And the reason that they never learned it was because there wasn't anybody to say, hey, do you know how to market your practice? And just saying, yeah, you go on socials and you have a website, that's not knowing how to market your practice. So yeah, that all comes under umbrella number one. Umbrella number two, the second thing I would do is I would get financially literate. And by that, I would just start with even simple things like I would understand budgeting, I would understand forecasting, I would understand projections, I would understand good debt. Like, I just thought anytime I had to pay for something, I wanted to cry because I didn't have money coming in. And so it hurt. Every time I had to pay for something, I would kick and scream and have a tantrum and put it off and put it off and put it off. And I would try and just make do with free stuff, anything free that I could get my hands on. And, I just made things 10 times worse for myself because a lot of the time the free stuff didn't work. And and because I just delayed my own success because, yeah, I was fighting it. So just so you know, so you don't have to delay your success, there's a thing called good debt. So there's good debt, and then there's maybe not so good debt. The not so good debt is when you owe money for something, right? And that hasn't bought you back anything. It hasn't given you anything, right? So maybe an example of a bad debt is you've been doing work with your clients and not processing payments, or you have cancellation policies and you don't use them for whatever reason, right? You don't feel comfortable charging people for not attending their appointments, for perhaps, whatever. That's creating a bad debt for your business. So your business didn't collect any money, but it lost money because you weren't collecting. It lost money because that was an hour that you could have had with a paying client. It lost money because you still had to pay for your memberships, your insurance, your software, your this, your that. So it lost money. That's a bad debt. You're not getting that money back, right? And you're not getting anything for it. You have lost that money. That's a bad debt. Same with like continuing to do work for third-party billers that just don't pay you, like some EAP providers, some, whatever. That's bad debts, and we want to avoid those, which is why we have policies. Your business won't survive if it continues to accumulate these bad debts. But a good debt is when you're borrowing money, or you're using credit, or you're using your savings or something like that to pay for something that is going to make you money. For example, business coaching, right? I'm just going to use Practice Momentum. Practice Momentum is $10,000 and it's $500 a month, right? Now you might think, as I did, oh my gosh, like that's so much. I'm not going to pay for that. I can't afford that. I'm this, I'm that. But if you understand, or hang on, this is going to teach me about tracking my numbers. This is going to help me understand about marketing. This is going to help me set up pipelines so that I don't have to market as much in the future when I get busy and I don't have the time. This is going to teach me how to manage the finances in my business. This is going to teach me how to work less and have more. This is going to teach me how to hire my first subcontractor so that I can have a day at home with my daughter, or whatever it is, right? And by the end of doing the coaching, for example, you come out of it better because you've learned stuff. So you got knowledge. That knowledge adds value to you. It adds value to your business. It adds value to your practice, and it can't be taken away. So you've got knowledge there. You've got new skills that you didn't have before you started. You've got new awareness that you didn't have before you started. And you'll be making more money. Most people will be making more money, and a lot more, depending on like how they run their business and their models and all that kind of thing. But I've certainly got women inside Practice Momentum, 2 or 3, that have doubled their income. And they haven't even been with me for 12 months yet. So when you see, yes, okay, it feels like it's costing me $500 at the beginning, you'd be surprised how quickly it starts to make you more than $500, right? One of my clients, was it this week or last week? I screenshotted it. It was so good. She was like, Practice Momentum is paying for itself, and I've only been here a few weeks. She said it's paying for itself already, and I've only been here a few weeks. So this is what I'm saying. There's good debt and there's bad. It's like if you go to university, right? Maybe you don't pay for your university course all up front. Maybe you get a help debt, right? Or when I was studying, it was HEPS, but it's called help or something now. So you've got that. That is a good debt. That is a debt you want to have, because that debt means that somebody has given you access to their thing. In this case, it was a course, not business coaching, but they've given you access to their thing that's going to put you in a position to be able to do what you want and make money, right? So they're giving you the thing first and they're saying to you, yeah, you can have the thing, just pay it off. That's good debt. So, yeah, that's just one example, but nobody ever explained that to me. And I used to think all money going out was really bad. And I used to feel sick about spending money and get really anxious and angry. And as I said, have tantrums and everything. But now I'm like, not happy to pay for that. Like, you know, I'm in a couple of memberships and masterminds myself, and they're expensive. Well, I shouldn't say that word. They are high ticket, let's just say, not expensive. And they're high ticket. And it's great though, because I learn so much, I become better, and I'm always, always, always improving what I'm doing with and for example, the Women in Momentum. Like, I'm always updating resources, adding new resources, you know. I mean, the portal is in such a state at the moment, that I've made for them, that it's getting a total revamp behind the scenes. And I'm really excited to give this to them soon, because there's been, as I up-level my knowledge, it means they get to up-level theirs, right? So, yes, it costs money, but it's good money for me to be spending. So, yeah, debt, there's good and bad. Think about it and just be aware of it, really. So think about it before you make decisions to do anything. It's really, really important. So, yeah, financial literacy, that is definitely something that I would do. That would be my step 2. And then step 3 would be, I would get around people who know more than me. I would still be in Facebook communities, right? Because I think you need the connection, and that can be so helpful and so valuable for things like that. But I wouldn't use free communities for getting ideas on my business and how to run it, because there are a lot of people in those communities that are in very different circumstances to you, and they might be giving you their 5 cents about what's working. And then I know this because I did it, right? And you're going to go and apply that, and it's going to like make a real mess of your business, and you're going to doubt yourself, and you're going to get imposter syndrome even worse now, because you'll be like, well, it's working for all of them, but it's not working for me. But you have no way of knowing what that person's situation is, personally or professionally. You don't see, I mean, they're not showing you their numbers, right? They're not showing you their income and expense trackers, you know, in real time, 24/7. Like, you don't have access. So not everyone's transparent. So you don't know. You're just making an assumption that because it's working for them, therefore it's going to work for you. And that's not always the case. So my advice would be, get around people who are further along when it comes to the learning of the business. And that's where things like private practice business coaching can be so helpful. But again, choose your person, right? You've got to align with them, because you're going to be working with them for a while. Like with me, for example, it's 12 months that we work together, and there's a reason for that, and we can go about that on another podcast episode. But I really think that it does people a disservice to just do ad hoc sessions here and there, so I won't do it. Especially because people often want ad hoc sessions, or, you know, I want 3 sessions so that you can help me find clients. But when I assess the business, I can see, well, this can take a lot longer than 3 sessions. Or if this person is a slow operator, because they're the type of person that operates a little bit differently, like there are some people who you can say the thing to, you can give the guidance, you can give the advice, you can give the strategy, they get it straight away. They're like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. Yes, I didn't even realize. Yep, okay, I'm good with this. And they'll go and do it, and boom, it starts working. But there are other people who are like, okay, thanks for that, I'll sit with it. And then they take time. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just how they work. They need time to sit with things. But while they're sitting with things, nothing's happening. There's no action being taken. And, eventually they'll come back and they're like, okay, it's session 2. And you're like, well, how did you go with sitting with that? And we're still no further along. And then, you have to spend the session kind of figuring out why they're still sitting with it and what's coming up for them. And maybe they have awareness and maybe they don't. Again, both things are okay, and it's different for everybody. Some people have that, I think I've got a block about it because I have this story that I'm running around what this might mean, and can you help me maybe work through this? And so, yeah, we can do that. But then there will be other people who say, I have no idea what it is, Brooklyn. I know what you're telling me is probably right, but I've just got some block about it and I don't know what it is. So there's some people that experience that as well. And then you get to the third session and, maybe they're like, okay, well, this is session number 3. So what are we doing today? And you want to give them the strategy, but because there's been all these delays and it's these protractions, you can only kind of like say, well, okay, we still don't have a niche, but let's try and make some kind of message from what we do know that you're kind of interested in. Or maybe let's go and work on this other thing over here. But actually, there might be 30 things that need to be worked on, right? Maybe she's got a freebie on her website, nobody's downloading it, and when I go and have a look at it, it's because it's not a good freebie. It isn't well described. There's no context around the freebie. It's not speaking to anybody. When I click on it, it opens up in Dropbox instead of a landing page. So she's not getting email addresses. And then when I have a look at it, we've got like a really badly formatted PDF. And then the content is very, very basic. So, it's like, where do you start? That whole thing there, just about the freebie, you can't do that in one session. You've got to figure out, you've got to listen to the client, you've got to understand the client's needs, you've got to solve the problem, then you've got to make the thing, then you've got to figure out how you're going to get them that result in the quickest amount of time in the cheapest way possible. Then you've got to figure out how you're going to like put it together and what's the best way to deliver it, and all of these kinds of things. And it's going to look different for everybody. And then you've got to connect it to your email platform, and does she have an email platform, or is she resistant to an email platform, or is she where she needs one? And then it's like, we've got the email platform, you've got to segment the audience, you've got to have an opt-in page. What are you going to put on the opt-in page? Then when people do opt in, they give you the email address. How are you going to deliver the freebie to them? Are you going to keep it in your Dropbox and share a link, or are you going to like just attach it? Like, how are you going to do it? And then you've got to write your email sequence, and you've got to set that up. So you've got to write, your bunch of it. Do you see what I mean? It's never just help me get clients. There's always, you have to do, and this is my job, to properly look at what the F is going on over here, that she's not getting clients. She's got this awesome website. We're not getting much traffic. Okay, that's because, in the grand scheme of things, it's still relatively new. That's fine. What's going on over here with this freebie? Why is it not getting downloaded? And maybe she's got all of the things with the freebie. Maybe it does solve the problem and it's connected to the email and, all of that. And it's got great copy and it looks amazing. And, like people will pay money for it. It is that good, which your freebie should be something people would pay money for. So then you're thinking, okay, what's going on then? And then we have to go and look at, do people know it's here? So then my next question to her is, how are you getting this out to the world? And 9 times out of 10, she's like, well, it's on my website. So just a lack of awareness around, it's not enough that it's sitting on the website yet, because you're still very new and you're not known yet. For someone like me, it's different. I've been around for 30 years. People know me. People will just automatically go over to my website and they will just start downloading stuff or watching stuff or listening to stuff or buying stuff, right? But it's because I've been around for a very long time. When you're new, you don't have all that history and all that awareness and that size audience. My Facebook business page has 7,000 followers. My on 5,000 something followers. My personal profile has 7,000. My Facebook community has 8,000 members. My email has 4,100 subscribers, right? I've got an audience. I just shut down my Instagram account that had 7 or 8,000, right? I've got a podcast that's got hundreds of thousands of downloads. I've got an audience. I'm known. You're not. The way that I got known is by learning, and so my job as your business coach is to teach you the stuff. And one of the things that I learned is that it's not enough just to leave your freebie on your website while you're in the early stages of your business. You've got to get it out there. And as I said, I think the quickest way to get it out there is by sharing links in your stories, honestly. I think that's the quickest way. And if you've already started to see clients, even if you've had less than 10, look after them. Love bomb your clients. By that, I mean, look after them in terms of, I want to say, like treating them to free things. And it should feel like a treat to them because they should feel like this was so good that they would have paid for it. If you send them a PDF and you're like, hey everyone, I hope you're having a great week. I put together this and here you go. And it's like really crappy. It's like not nice to look at. It's very general. They could get better on Instagram, all of that kind of stuff. They're going to unsubscribe and they're probably, I don't know, they're just going to be like, no. Versus if they open up the freebie and they're like, oh my gosh, this has this thing. So for me, for example, I want to send an email maybe once a month or twice a month to my list that makes them feel like this was so worth opening. I am so glad that I opened this email today because I learned this. I got that. It did this for me. Oh my gosh, I can use this. This was so helpful. That's the reaction that I want. So, you have to think about all of those kinds of things. Yeah, and I guess that would be it. Like being around people who know more, because you don't know what you don't know. And it's like even when you think about spirituality, right? And one of the things I remember learning, in Buddhism, and then I learned it again when I was learning, I was on my journey for the divine feminine, the divine masculine, and, and learning about the energetics of business and stuff like that. It's just repeated in so many different disciplines, in so many different ways. It's the same content, just packaged a little bit differently. But there are 4 levels of consciousness, right? The first level of consciousness is where it's called, hang on, I'm going to get this wrong, Tumi. So it's the Tumi level of consciousness. So that's where you're saying, we just use private practice, for example. That's where you're saying everything is not your fault. If the things that are happening in your business are not because of anything you're doing or not doing, it's because of other stuff. So you might say, oh, I'm posting on my socials and I have a website and I have a blog and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. It's not because of me. It's because cost of living. That's why people don't want to. It's because I'm in a rural area. It's because I don't know, national standards with the diplomas at the moment. It's because I only have a bachelor's or a master's. It's because, right? It's because, and it's never because of you or anything you're doing. That's the first level of consciousness. And that level of consciousness will never be able to understand the higher levels because they're there. In their head, everything's happening to them and it's not their fault. The next level of consciousness is by me. And the by me level of consciousness is when you start taking some responsibility for what you're doing. Now, it's a little bit different because in the first level of consciousness, you are taking responsibility by doing all the posting on social media to get a client and, all that kind of stuff. But you're saying that everything's happening beyond your control. When you are in by me, it's very different because you're saying, okay, I'm doing all of these activities over here to try and get a client. It's not working. What am I missing here? How could I be doing it differently? Or you might say, wow, I've really noticed that I'm getting a lot of inquiries lately, but they're not converting because the feedback from my clients is about the money and they can't afford it right now. I wonder how I could improve my conversions. Is this because I am just like saying the wrong thing? Is it because I don't have a framework or a process to follow for the discovery call? Is it because I don't really know what I'm actually meant to be saying and how I'm meant to be saying it on a discovery call? Is that the hiccup there, right? So it's you taking responsibility, and then you will go and research and you'll go and like buy a program or a product or a course on how to do inquiry calls, and you'll learn it and you'll fix it. Or you might say, another example of buy me is you might say, okay, I'm in this rural area. There's not many clients. There's a lot of competition, and there's cost of living. So, with all of that going on, how can I? What's my right next step here? Instead of saying, well, the whole reason that my business still isn't paying me is because of all of these external things. Very different energies. When you go to the next level up, I'm going to maybe get these two wrong, but it's as me and through me. So as me is when you're showing up and you're being yourself, right? You're like, okay, I get to trust that I'm enough, I'm okay, I can do this, the business is going to work, the clients are going to come to me because I've put everything in place. So you've already gone through all those other levels. You've gone through the journey of blaming everybody else and not taking responsibility. Then you've gone through the journey of taking responsibility. But the risk with that one is you can get too caught up in it and you can start to think everything is your responsibility when it's not, number one, which stops you from delegating. It stops you from asking for help. It can stop you from feeling good about yourself because it can make you feel like there's always the next thing, which, by the way, there is. But when you're in this energy, it's not good. It can lead to burnout because you go from being in the to me energy of, well, I just throw my hands up in the air. What can I do? It's out of my hands, out of my control, nothing I can do. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. To now you're like, I've got to fix this, I've got to fix that, I've got to fix this, I've got to fix that. It's like, can be a desperate energy if it's left unchecked and unbalanced. So then you go to as me, and as me level of consciousness is the third of the four levels, and that's where everything starts to sort of come together in a lot more even, balanced, calm way. And you're recognizing, okay, there are things I can do, there are things that are just not in my wheelhouse, and I'm happy to let some of those things go now, and I'm trusting in my processes. I am going to slow down a little bit. I'm going to, do you know what I mean? So there's this trust that happens. And that's what actually that post was about that I did on the Facebook business page about getting clients from Facebook. It was about like starting to trust yourself again. And when you trust yourself, you just show up in a different energy, in a different space. And it just, for some reason, works. It just resonates. And then the last level of consciousness there is through me. And that's where, if you're maybe a spiritual person like I am, I absolutely, hands down, 100% believe in energy, the science that, the atoms and the little particles in the atoms, everything's vibrating all the time. And, I really believe in that. And I think that that's backed up by the idea of sound waves and ECGs and, all the magnetic frequencies. And I think all those frequency things and wavelengthy things, that's energy, right? You don't see it, but it's there, like electricity, like Wi-Fi. So anyway, I do believe in that. And the higher level of consciousness there, or the last level, is through me. And that's where you start to see things as there isn't any competition. There's space for everyone. We're all in it together. I don't have to like everyone. They don't have to like me. We can still all have lovely businesses. There's more than enough clients for everyone. I have what I need. I know that I'm supported and guided by people and by the things that I believe in, right? And your people might be your colleagues, your peers, your friends in the group chat, your business coach, your supervisor. They're going to be the real life people that support you in your business, and partners and family and friends, of course, too. But then, of course, your beliefs can be such a source of support. So for me, I can share some of the beliefs that I anchor into. And I anchor into them all the time, but I guess I become more aware of them when things aren't going my way. But I really do believe that I'm always right where I need to be. That helps me a lot. I always try and anchor into the belief that things are always working out for me. So even though it feels like my world's falling apart, even though there are no appointments in the diary, even though everyone's defaulting on their payments, even though, like, whatever it is that might be going on in the business, right? I can remind myself this is happening for me, not to me. And I can take a breath and I can ask myself, okay, how many ways might this be happening for me? And I can get out a pen and paper and I can brainstorm, free write all of the ways that I think this unwanted thing might be happening for me. Well, maybe it's happening for me to show me that I do need a 48-hour cancellation policy instead of a 24-hour one. Maybe this is happening for me to show me that I do need to get payment at the time of the first booking. Maybe this is happening for me to show me that I do need a niche. Maybe this is happening for me to show me that it is safe for me to raise my fees, right? Just allow yourself to go there. And then the other thing that I would do, so you asked for 3 things, but the 4th thing that I would do if I had to start all over again, the 4th thing would be having a better mindset and having somebody support me with a better mindset and teach me how to have a better mindset for myself, asking me those open-ended questions. What's the lesson here? How did I grow from this? What did I learn from this? How has this experience that I've had made me better as a business owner? How does it help me help my clients in new and different, improved ways? How does this experience that I've just had close the gap on my success? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, having somebody that can ask you those questions. But here's the thing too, right? You got to be willing to answer them. You got to be willing to answer them and do the work. And that's coaching, right? Coaching is about you getting challenged. Just signing up to get challenged because you're in your little bubble and you don't know what's on the outside of the bubble. So you pay a coach to teach you what's on the outside of the bubble. But your beliefs, your ego mind is going to challenge things that you hear sometimes from your coach. It's going to resist. It's going to say, oh, I don't know about that. Oh, I need to sit with that. Oh, I'm going to think about that. Oh, no, I can't right now. Oh, I know you said to do this, but I haven't. And yeah, anyway, I've got this situation arising again, but I still don't want to do the thing that you recommended. So is there anything else that maybe could work that's not the thing that you recommended? Right. But that's the whole thing. Coaching's work. It's work, and it's inner work. Nobody will ever see what you're doing because it's internal, right? And it's no different to what we're asking our clients to do. But anyway, they're the 3/4 things I would do if I had to start all over again. And I hope that this was interesting and illuminating and helpful and of benefit. um, yeah, I just also want to say that if you are in a position where you're needing clients, it's not only going to be your website. The website is step one, because without that being in place, you can't do all the other things. But if your website is where it needs to be and it's optimized and all those kinds of things, and it's newish, new being less than 12 months old, it's newish, then go ahead and start doing the other things. I would say definitely go and get yourself on Psychology Today. It's free for 6 months, but they've got fantastic SEO and they will give you a backlink for your website, right? You don't have to do anything, but Google love it when other websites recommend yours. You get points for that and you get more reach. So getting yourself listed in directories is fantastic for your website visibility. So definitely do that. Google My Business. Go and do a thorough, like, you know how you talk about deep cleaning your bathroom and stuff like that? Go and deep clean your Google My Business profile. I know it's insanely boring and it's not fun, but it works. And that'd be like the main two things. If you've done those, then those are the things that are going to start to bring clients quickly. From there, I would go and make yourself multiple freebies. And the reason why I say multiple is not to create more work for you, but because you want to have things to give to clients, but also what you think they need and what you think will work and stuff like that can be very different to what they think they need and what they think will work. And I was in my flow desk the other day. I mean, I've deleted a bunch now, but I can go in and check, and if I can find of course I can bring them up and I'll see if I can take a screenshot of the total number of freebies. But I think, and you don't have to do this, but I think it was like, at the moment, I've currently got 53. 53 is the number of freebies. So I'm not relying on one and putting all my eggs in that basket. I have multiple freebies and I can bring them all up in Flowdesk and in Thrivecart and stuff like that. And I can see of those 53, and get this, I wouldn't make it if I didn't think it was good. And I wouldn't make it if I didn't think it would get them a result and it would work. I know that the stuff that I give away is really, 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 really good, better than some other people's paid stuff. I know that. So I have to have a look at what's moving, what's not. And I can see patterns. And the things of mine that are the most downloaded are usually about how to get clients. It's usually about, it's that. More recently, the things that are getting downloaded by my audience are things around what I'm interpreting to be around work-life balance. They want to start to step away from the one-to-one. So all my passive income freebies, they're getting consumed like crazy at the moment. So that allows me to say, okay, of these 53 things here, I can see these 3 are the top performers, and I can do something with that. I can use that and I can make an even better freebie, like freebie 2.0, and include a 10-minute training with it and stuff like that, and sell it. And I know it will sell. I can use that information and say, all right, maybe this is something I need to put on my sales page to practice momentum, because it's obviously a hot topic at the moment. Maybe this is something that I should do a podcast episode on, right? I can use all of that information for different things. I can retire the freebies that aren't working and I can, reboot some of them later on. Maybe it was the title of the freebie that wasn't sounding good, right? Like, the anxiety journal, the anxiety workbook, the self-care journal, no, they're never going to sell. So maybe I need to change the titles. Maybe it's the color. Maybe it's the picture. Maybe it's that it wasn't fillable, right? So I'm going to change. Maybe it was the mock-up. Maybe it was that I didn't have a mock-up. Maybe it was that I didn't put good quality copy on the landing page. Maybe it was that I didn't share it. So there are going to be all kinds of reasons why. You won't know until you assess it. But I can take the information and use that information to let go of some things and start doing more of the things that are working and build my business, right? So it would be website, Psychology Today profile, Google my business. Once those things are done, definitely get on to making and letting people know about the freebies. That'd be the next thing. And then while you've got time, I would definitely start doing sort of mid to longer term content, like, yeah, a podcast. So you might think, oh, well, I don't even have any clients. This is the best time for you to be recording a podcast then. And the reason that podcasts work, they convert so well, is because lots of people start them, don't finish them. There are not that many podcasts that have more than 10 episodes. And this one's got over 500. I think it's got 545 or something. So it does well. It's got history, it's got a following, it's got an audience, and it converts. But it didn't convert after the first episode or the first 10 episodes or anything like that. In fact, it didn't start converting until year 2 or 3, and then boom, it just sort of took off. Now I get regular inquiries, and when I'm speaking with people, I say, how did you find me? And I say, oh, well, this time it was on Facebook, but I've been listening to your podcast for the last 3 years, right? So I'm saying, this is, make content now that future-proofs your practice. People inquiring with me now have been in my audience for years. They're not inquiring now because I put something on Facebook yesterday or the day before or 2 weeks ago. I mean, they do sometimes, but it's, usually they have to be in your world for a while. This is what you need to understand. The marketing takes time. Once you hit that stage in your business, though, where you're booked in terms of whatever you need that to be or want that to be, once you hit that stage for you, then you can trust that you've got everything you need in place because it's all working now. Your Google My Business is working. Your website is now working because it's getting more reach. It's getting more reach because of the website wellness. It's getting more reach because you Google My Business and because of Psychology Today profile, and now because more people are visiting the site. It's another reason we want to have, booking opportunities for people on your website. With me, my website ranks in the 96th percentile. And one of the ways that I achieved that is by having things embedded. Now, I did update my website. You heard that episode of the podcast probably about 6 months ago, where I made a real mess of it. And it wasn't until recently, just this week, in fact, that I realized that I had a tab for my podcast, but I had set my tab to go over to Podbean, which is my hosting platform for the podcast. So I realized I need to put the RSS feed in its own page because I know that people will visit my website and they'll click on one of the episodes on the page and they can just listen to it in the background while they're doing something else. And while they're staying on my website, even though they might not be looking at it, they might be making some images in Canva for social media or something and still listening to my podcast that's playing through my website. Google is saying, holy smokes, what's going on over here on Brooklyn's website? We've got 2 or 3 people that have just spent an hour on it. This must be pretty good. Better give this to more people to look at. And that's how I boost my reach for free. So little things like that work really, 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 really well. The other thing that I did was I embedded a couple of recent YouTube videos for the same reason. People may not necessarily sit there with a bag of popcorn and a can of Coke Zero to watch the video. They'll probably have it playing while they're in Canva doing something, so they can be multitasking, doing two things at once, right? So those videos go for an hour and a half each. That's good for me. I get more credit, I get more reach from Google. So that's what I'm saying, like, start building pipelines now to future proof your practice. Like, it's not a bad thing that you've got time on your hands at the moment. It's how you use this time. You can either get desperate and upset and be panicking and doing all the things, or you can be smart with how you use it, because sooner or later you are going to be booked and you won't have time to start a podcast, start a YouTube channel, do the things, right? This is now also a great time for you to be looking at, I'm just trying to reverse park here and I can't fit in. Oh, it's a small park. That's okay, I found another one over here. Easy peasy. Oh, it's only 15 minutes. My goodness, that's not easy peasy, is it? No, it's not. Okay, I'll find a way. Oh, I can't do a U-turn there. Ah, Korumburra, what are you doing to me? I'm in the main street of Korumburra and they have parks either side, but you can't do U-turns anywhere. You have to go like pretty much up and down the full length of the street for the most part to come back and turn around. But yeah, they're the things that I would be. They're the things that I would be doing. And I hope that this was super duper helpful, as I said. And if you have any questions about your business, of course, let me know. But yeah, we always want to start with the website. So start there. If you need help with your website, if you haven't got one yet, no problem. Let me know. I will help you map it out. We can map it out together. I will tell you what has to go on every single page, how to do it, all of that kind of stuff. You don't have to have a website yet. If you've got a website but nobody's seeing it, nobody's downloading your free thing, no one's signing up to your newsletter, no one's booking in for an inquiry call or an appointment, then I can absolutely help you as well. Let me know. But yeah, just manage your expectations, guys. Like, things take time, especially in our industry. And apart from that, the length of time is going to be different for each person based on how many hours you're willing to invest and in the business, right? Each week. So some of my clients, they don't have fully booked diaries yet. They might not have a fully booked diary yet. But I'll say to them, listen, I want you to at least dedicate 2 hours a week. And they're like, geez, I don't know, I don't know if I can do that. Well, I don't know. It's going to be really hard for you to grow your practice if it's brand new, you don't have any clients, and you're unwilling to find 2 hours a week to work on it. It's going to take you a heck of a lot longer. If you're going to sit around and Netflix and chill, then it's going to take you a lot longer. For me, my hours, I do treat it in a way like a full-time job. Like, the way I've structured Practice Momentum gives me a lot of flexibility. However, I'm not seeing clients in one-to-one sessions. That doesn't mean that I'm, not working on my business. I work on my business, for hours every single day, especially at the moment because I'm going away in a week. So I want to make sure, like, I'm all prepared for that. I want to make sure my Practice Momentum clients are looked after and I've got everything that they need. But also, it's just a busy time in the business because I'm doing a bunch of things right now. I'm making a whole lot of stuff for Etsy, but I know that once that's all up, it's hands off. I don't have to do much then. I have the Booked and Better subscription, so I get to make a product every month. I love doing that. But it takes me, a good or 3 days to put all of that together. Um, I do spend time every single day on my marketing. So if I put something up on Etsy, then I also, if I remember and I have time, put it on my website. And then I put it in Facebook and my Facebook business page and my Facebook business profile and Facebook stories and in an email. And then I will put it into Thrivecart and make a sales page for it in Thrivecart and a checkout page for it in Thrivecart. And then I will connect that to Flowdesk and then I will make a workflow for it in Flowdesk. This is what I mean. There's so many steps. So maybe you're just not aware that there are so many steps, and that's why you're thinking, well, I've got the website, where are the clients? And I feel defeated, like, why isn't it working? I want you to understand there are lots of steps, and just like I ask you to spend, 2 hours a week on your business, don't think I'm not. I spend at the moment probably a good 8 hours on my business. And when it comes to clients, maybe that's about an hour, maybe. I mean, it varies, of course, it fluctuates. And sometimes it'll be a Thursday and I'll be doing something with momentum. We'll have our Thursday sessions, or maybe it's a Wednesday body doubling or something like that. So, I mean, apart from those little things, but they don't happen every day. They don't take up big chunks of time. But around that, I'm doing all of these other things that future-proof my practice. So the money that comes into my business now is coming in because of things that I spent time setting up 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 2 years ago, and I'm still getting money from them. So what I'm doing now in my business is continuing to set things up so that in 6 months, 12 months, 2 years down the track, I will still have money coming in without feeling desperate, without thinking, oh, I'm low on clients, oh, I need to get a client, oh, this, oh, that. I don't have to worry about my money. The money just turns up now. But it does that because I spend hours every single week working on the business. And I think that was one of my big lessons, my big sort of realizations, and I wasn't happy about it, was I thought when I first started my private practice that, oh yeah, you get your qualification, you just start work. But no, you've got to spend time working on the business. And in the beginning, in that early phase, you're thinking you're going to be working with clients. You're expecting that you're going to be working with lots of clients. But the reality is it's crickets for a while. The amount of time is different for everybody, but it's going to be crickets. And you're going to be absolutely working on the business, and you're not going to love it because you were expecting to be working with clients. So there's going to be resistance. You're going to be doing little bits of the business. It's called business development when you're working on your business. You'll be doing like little bits of business development here and there during the week and still frustrated, like, where are my clients? Where are my clients? So the thing is, until you start to get the clients coming through and that diary gets to where you want it to be, you're in the early stage. That early stage, you're mostly needing to give hours every single day to working on the business. I don't know of any other business that says, geez, I'd really struggle to find 2 hours a week to work on my business when I'm just starting my business. I spend more than that on Etsy, and it's a new business, right? There's no way I would get this Etsy store off the ground on 2 hours a week. So manage your expectations. Once that diary is ticking over and you've got the clients that you want, the volume that you want, and the revenue that you want coming in, then the scale's tipping the other direction and you're doing a lot less of the business development. But you're in a position where you can do a lot less because in the early phase, you are putting good foundations in place. So you're not going to end up saying, like, people who didn't put the good foundations in place, they're the ones who they end up being fully booked. They're excited about it. They're happy that they're fully booked, all that kind of stuff. And then they start finishing work with clients. And then they're like, oh no, I took my foot off the pedal and now I've got to try and find clients. And now I've got to start my social media again. And I've got to start all this again. And they panic and they're scrambling. So that's why in momentum we talk about let's get the Google My Business done thoroughly. Let's get the Psychology Today done thoroughly. Let's get this freebie done thoroughly, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one, and get them out, 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 out. Because when you've got all those foundations in place, you've got good processes in place around how you run your business, you've got good policies in place that ensure the revenue continues to be generated, you will never have to scramble for a client ever again. Okay. So, yeah, that's how it goes. And then I think stage 3, like you've got your early stage over here, and then you've got your stage where it's all kind of ticking along and you're booked and everything. And then it's kind of like, hopefully, if you've done it the right way, you don't have to worry because you've got this steady stream of clients coming through. But you then move into like what I think is stage 3, and that's where it's not outgrow it, but it's where you say, do you know what? I think I want to do something in addition to the one-to-one. I think I want to like do a little bit less of the one-to-one and maybe introduce passive or groups or a program or this or that, right? And that's where you start to see less clients and you start to focus on doing some of these other things. That's like stage 3, the settling in period. Like really, I think stage 3 is when it really does start to become your own, because you've got a lot of experience and wisdom and all those kinds of things under your belt then, and you've found your rhythm, you found your groove. And we want that rhythm and we want that groove right at the very start, but we're still learning, and you're right where you need to be. As I said before, you are right where you need to be. You're not behind or anything like that. I think sometimes you feel like, I wish I had more clients, just because the expectations were a little bit unrealistic. And the reason that the expectations were unrealistic was because nobody talks about the journey that it takes. Okay? But now you understand the journey that it takes. So I hope this has helped you sort of understand things, have context, take the anxiety edge off a little bit. And I'm really excited to hear about how you go with your private practice. So keep in touch. Let me know how it's all going. I want to hear everything, the good, the bad, and everything in between. And if you need help, let me know that as well. And yeah, as I said, I've got a few freebies on the Facebook business page at the moment, which is just my name, Dr. Brooklyn Storm. You can go over and you can grab some of those if you like. I think there's one there for the mock-ups. There's one there for getting clients from Facebook, and I forget what the third one is. I'm just trying to think. I can't think. Okay. And thank you so much for being part of my world. I know this one was a long one today, wasn't it? I'm so sorry about that. Oh my gosh, I was going to say 11:11 because I don't have my glasses, so I'm seeing double on my phone. It's 1:11. So I'm going to go and have a bite to eat. Then I'm going to take a slow drive home, pick Buddy up from daycare, and have a relaxing afternoon with Buddy Boy. And yeah, touch base tomorrow with you maybe. But probably I'm going to go and make some stuff for Etsy on the weekend. It's very important for me to get that up because A, I love doing it. B, it's very, very helpful. C, I know I'm building my financial security when I do it. All right, my lovelies, have a lovely, lovely weekend. Bye.